Changes are coming. I think the age of third-party exclusivity is, if it's not dead, it's dying. And it's why I see Xbox in a much better position than PlayStation at this point. And it's because they have a system, a mechanism in Game Pass that isn't reliant on this third-party exclusivity. Now, some of you might be saying, well, wait a minute, PlayStation is up 3-1 on consoles this generation. How can you say that? I'm talking about the next 5 years. I'm talking about the next 10 years. I think Xbox is setting the trend, and I think that they're in a position to dominate. It's why on this channel I say we're at the beginning of the Xbox domination generation. If you disagree with that, just take a look at, for instance, Square Enix. Here's Square Enix planning to increase the amount of titles releasing simultaneously on each platform. Square Enix confirms more Xbox support while discussing this new upcoming JRPG. And in the preview text here over at windowscentral.com, it says this: PlayStation's exclusivity grip on Square Enix is finally slipping as the publisher's future titles are confirmed to release on Xbox simultaneously. I think that's increasingly the case. I think we saw with Crimson Desert, if you remember, about a week ago, 2 weeks ago, Crimson Desert came out, Pearl Abyss, and said, hey, PlayStation offered us exclusivity. We took a look at it. It wasn't for us. We're not going to do that. And I think increasingly that's just the state of gaming in 2024. I think that model is an old model at this point. And I think that it will still have its place this generation. But I think going forward, I think it's dead. I think we're going to see less and less of that. And that's enter in Game Pass. Game Pass, you can get, for instance, a Square Enix game on Game Pass, and it still drops everywhere else. It doesn't prevent. It benefits Xbox while not hindering Square Enix. It's this mutual beneficial and not experience. It benefits both companies mutually. There we go. And I think that's a powerful thing. That's a powerful tool to have in your back pocket. And it's why I think Xbox is set up for the future. Let's go over this article over at Windows Central. But before we do, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. My name is X1 the Gamer. We drop videos Monday through Friday right here on this channel. If you like podcasts, you prefer podcasts, make sure you head over to Spotify or Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating and review and subscribe to us there. Share us with your friends. Also, if you like what we're doing, we're logical. Logical Xbots here. Consider becoming a member. It very much helps us out, and thank you to everybody who's become a member. This is windowscentral.com. We read the headline already. Let's go through the article here. It's not too long, so I'm going to read the entire thing and we'll comment on it as we go through. More Square Enix titles are making their way to Xbox and PC with day-and-date releases to their PlayStation counterparts, according to comments made by Square Enix director and executive officer Yoshi P in an interview with 4Gamer.net. Square Enix announced its plans to bring more of its games to Xbox and PC earlier this year after financial reports revealed that the Japanese publisher's games were failing to recoup operating and development costs even with increasing sales numbers. The plan revolved around major franchises and AAA titles as well as older IPs tucked away in the publisher's catalog, and would see an end to timed exclusivity agreements for games in the Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest franchises. If you remember, what that financial statement said is they weren't making enough. They weren't growing their audience. They weren't growing their base for these games. The only game that was doing that was Final Fantasy Online, and that is now officially everywhere. So it kind of illustrates the reality, the hard reality that these game publishers are in. Is the name of the game is getting more people to play your game, and exclusivity, where that may have been a boon at one time and the cash may have been worth it, or whatever the perks were that came with that exclusivity, it is no longer the case that it benefits you. And Square Enix isn't the only one making this determination here. Other companies are as well, including Xbox. Fantasian Neo Dimension is among the first Square Enix titles to launch simultaneously on all platforms following the announcement of the strategy change. Slated to release on December 5th on Xbox, PC, via Steam, PlayStation, and Nintendo, Fantasian Neo Dimension is a definitive edition of the classic JRPG adventure that precedes the Final Fantasy series. In the interview above with 4Gamer.net, Yoshida explains that he expects the Nintendo Switch to be the most popular platform for Fantasian because of its portability. I agree with that. I actually think that is why both Xbox and PlayStation are jumping into that portability game. Once again, in our increasingly busy lives where we are being pulled in so many directions, having the ability to take my gaming wherever I'm at, not just on the road, but in my house primarily, is only a benefit. And that is why Nintendo's been ahead of the game. Nintendo has done it, and Nintendo has led the way here. And I think we're going to see, rumor is that we're going to see both Xbox and PlayStation take that same road, and I'm here for it. Absolutely. I mean, that's the popularity of the Steam Deck. That's the popularity of the ROG Ally, being able to take my PC games and gaming wherever I want. And again, I would emphasize, not just on the road, but anywhere you want in your house is a huge benefit. When asked about PC and other console ports, Yoshi P says, this time, the Xbox Series X and S version will be released at the same time. In the future, he said, Square Enix will release more and more titles simultaneously on each platform. So I hope Xbox users will play it as well. That is absolutely huge. Yoshi P followed up the statement with an apology to Mistwalkers, the developers of Fantasia, for the extra work required to ship the game on all platforms. Quote, the fact that it is released simultaneously on such a platform has led to excitement. So we are grateful that they did a good job. Yoshida said Yoshida was at the forefront of pushing Fantasia to a multi-platform release, telling 4Gamer.net, we have to think about how to get as many people as possible to play it and how to make it viable from a business perspective. We have to think about how to get as many people to play it as possible and how to make it viable from a business perspective. That is the reality of gaming in 2024. That is why I think timed exclusives from third parties, not even timed exclusives from third parties are gone. If there is going to be an exclusive, I think it will be a timed exclusive. But I think exclusives permanent they're just not a thing. Yoshi P also hinted that other Final Fantasy titles could see multi-platform releases in the future. Huge. Square Enix, I'm just going to close on this. Square Enix is known for being behind some of the best JRPGs on Xbox, and the publisher has been heavily courted by Xbox executives Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond. And you gotta compliment Phil Spencer and Sarah Bond. Like, this is something that definitely was missing from the Xbox One era. I think that they have been, it's no secret, they are not just behind, they're behind dramatically in Asia. They're behind dramatically in offering these types of titles to their fans, to these types of titles in their ecosystem. And so having Square Enix, it's almost the perfect timing, the perfect storm here. Square Enix needs more players. Xbox needs Square Enix on their platform and more games like Square Enix. And it's perfect timing. And I think Xbox courting Square Enix and having their games, release on Game Pass is huge, and it does not prevent. Again, it's why it's Game Pass. It's why I'm so high on it. You can see it if you're paying attention. You can see you can have an Xbox release on Game Pass, and it benefits. It gets people to subscribe to your Game Pass, and it can also release everywhere else. That doesn't hurt the benefit that is Game Pass. It doesn't take away from it. So it's this new tool in your kit that hasn't previously existed, particularly in the console space. And I think it's a superpower, and I think it's huge. I would love to know what you guys think, though. Do you agree with me that the end of third-party exclusives is done? I think it is. It's only a matter of time. I don't think it's the benefit that it once was. We've matured as an industry, and now all that matters for these publishers is getting as many people to play your game, as many people into your worlds and your sequels as a result as possible. And that's just the reality. And Game Pass addresses that directly. Now, that's not to say that PlayStation Plus won't address that as well. But right now, I think Game Pass definitely is leading the charge there. Would love to know what you guys think. Again, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to this channel. X1 the Gamer, here every single day. Have a great rest of your day, guys, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.